to Google and type in the word Africa province. And what's going to happen is you might get some resources of some sort that give you the history of the use of the term Africa. And what you're going to find out is that it was white folks who created the first African province, all right, in 146 BC. And they did this after they conquered some of your ancestors, who we call Carthaginians, under the Carthaginian Empire. It's not, Carthage is not the name, the true name. They were the people of Punt, or Tapten-Wet, or the Puny people, or so-called, where we get the Greek use of Puny or Phoenician. These were Moors. These were Aboriginals. But in 146 BC, the Romans conquered a small province and named it African Proconsularis. And after naming Africa Proconsularis, these white Romans colonized that particular area and became the first Africans. Now that might sound crazy to you, but it's historically a fact that the first Africans were white, and white folks, white Romans, made up that particular name. The Aboriginal and indigenous peoples of that particular landmass never called themselves Africans. So to call yourself African today is a term that denotes that you are colonized and do not know your history. Now, you might not be able to stomach that, but it is a fact. All right, so we need to check this information out for ourselves. And we will find that the first coins were African coins with white faces on them. You'll find emperors like Emperor Hadrian and others who were white Romans who were considered African. Now we have 55 countries on that particular continent, all with pretty much so-called phenotypically black leaders. And they are all controlled by white people, financially, etc. A lot of us over here, we cry about, well, we need land. You can't be sovereign without land. You can't go to Africa and say our people don't got no land. They got more land than you can think of. But it goes to show you can have all the land that you want. If you don't have your mind, you are still a slave. And we have 55 nations walking around calling themselves after a colonized term given to them by ancient Romans till this day. That is suicide, genocide, and menticide. All right, so we have to check that. If we are going to be a free people, how are we going to be free if we name ourselves after our enemies? On the obverse of that, we reject the term American. All right, under the guise that Amerigo Vespucci named the continent that particular name. That is another false or frivolous story. I will give you sources because I don't like to play. John Boyd Thatcher wrote a 6,000-page analysis of Columbus's journeys to the so-called New World and Amerigo Vespucci's journeys to the New World. John Boyd Thatcher, early 1900s. And he translated the letters of the alleged Amerigo Vespucci. And what we find out in those letters, in those original Latin letters, that the man's name was not Amerigo Vespucci. His name was Albericus Vespucci. That is Albericus. And when you read these particular letters and look around, you say, okay, well, how did his name get to be Amerigos? And then we just have this belief that he was named, or the land was named after him. This is what you call the science of colonization. Now, when they came to South America, during this time period in Central America, they knew the name of the people who called themselves Amaru. And in Columbus's own journal, when you go to his first page, he tells you on that first page of his own journal, type in Columbus Journal, go to the first page, he said that the leaders or the rulers in this part of the world were called Khan. We spell that like Farrakhan, Khan. And the Amaru Khan were the leaders who we call, or the Aboriginal leaders or chiefs or kings, who we call the Mayan kings, the Olmec kings, etc. So the word American comes from the indigenous people. It does not come from Amerigo Vespucci. The name was not named after him. Right? That's important for us to know. American is, in its phenotypical language, Aboriginal indigenous. So you go check the information, Africa Province, yourself. Go type in John Boyd Thatcher, and look it up yourself.